My name is Daniel Martinez, and this is my presentation, the organization of a low-income youth sports league for HPPE-596 Capstone Practicum, Spring 2018. To start off, let me give you the rationale of my project. Throughout the U.S., youth participation in sports or physical activity has actually declined, and 21% of households with children are actually living below the federal poverty level. This means that these children are highly unlikely to participate in any kind of physical activity or sport. This is basically due to youth sports in America actually separating into the haves and have-nots, where only the children of families that have the financial resources can play. Even though it's well documented that sports have a positive impact on children, the fact that finances deter many children from playing is the reason behind my project. The purpose of my project is to establish a nonprofit youth sports organization that gives all children the opportunity to participate in sport regardless of financial status. So the reason why I chose this topic for my project was actually due to personal experience and the impact that sports has on a child's life. I've had situations where I've known friends and family that can't afford to get their child into a sport, and that's one thing I want to solve there. Another thing is I know sports are definitely positive aspects to our lives. One thing that I wanted to do is to help show these kids that they can live a healthy lifestyle, help them learn how to set goals and reach them, get social experience on their end as well, and actually build character. That's one big thing that I want them to learn as well. As part of this project, a literature review was conducted to show that sports have a positive influence on our youth. The summary of this review basically stated that sport has the ability to change lifestyle habits and help develop positive mental health. Sport can also help at-risk youth develop a healthy personal growth, which in turn can allow them to establish pathways to a better future for themselves. And one of the biggest things that came up was the fact that different sports can provide different developmental experiences. So instead of specialization, which is commonly occurring for a lot of the children today, where they would just play one sport throughout the year, if a child was to have options to play different sports throughout the year, those developmental experiences can actually drastically help that child develop more. As I mentioned earlier, it has always been a personal goal of mine to start a nonprofit youth sports league that was inclusive for all. As part of the project, I also looked back on business classes I had previously taken. With the classes and additional research, I was actually able to determine the steps to help create this project. The first goal, though, was to create an outline with the items that I wish to complete for this project. So like the business overview, the policies, the rules, the procedures, the agreement forms, everything like that. And then next, I reviewed multiple sources on how to create those different products, all those documents there. So for example, I was able to find a few online resources that help guide me through the task of writing that business overview. Even though the level of the completion of the project, like I mentioned, is nowhere near the level needs to be to actually start the nonprofit organization, the work that I've done here so far is definitely a great foundation for getting that going and actually getting a nonprofit started here shortly. The first individual that I worked with was my selected chair. His name's Jose Olivo. He's actually a program director for Upward Bound here at Colorado State University. If you're not aware of Upward Bound, it's basically a program that allows educational opportunities for children who would not typically have access to higher education. A little background for Jose. He earned his Bachelor of Arts from Ethnic Studies from CSU and a Master of Art in Educational Psychology from the University of Northern Colorado. Jose gave me a lot of insights as far as nonprofit organizations and how they operate, and he helped me with the outline and helped me situate myself when it came to getting this project started. The second individual I worked with is Micah Paulino. Micah is the CEO and founder of Mile High Officials, which is a nonprofit sport assigning company. Basically, he sends out all the officials to all the local middle school games, high school games there in Denver. I was actually introduced to Micah through my practicum internship. During my time with Mile High Officials, I spoke consistently with Micah regarding how he set up his nonprofit organization. He provided me a lot of examples of things that I would need to do and documentation that I would need to get this going. And he also provided me a few recommendations on how to be successful while offering a service, especially for a nonprofit itself. Um, and then he did help me orient myself around a few resources to help me create some of the documentations that I had for this project. Continuing evaluations are actually key to the success of the organization. Um, the, the evaluation I made or the assessment that I was giving out was actually for every sports season. So the parents would have to fill this out. And it actually asked them questions and survey questions regarding the organization and how it was ran, the coaches, their demeanor, if they were respectful and actually a positive influence on their children, the facilities that we rented to make sure that there was no safety hazards, everything like that, and as well as the impact on their child to make sure that we are doing what we set out to do. We want to make sure that they're having fun and that they have a safe environment to play in. And as far as that goes, we did have a rating system placed in that assessment as well. So it goes from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, high, or 5 being the highest, and basically included a lot of those questions that I just mentioned here. So as part of this project, I also included an individual professional development plan. This plan was actually set up in two sections. The first section was a current assessment of myself. So it listed the skills that I actually excel in, which were problem solver, account management skills, and strong communicator, to name a few, and skills that I could improve on, one being time management. The other half of the plan was a career-oriented SMART goals section. If you're not aware of SMART or the acronym itself, basically it means specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So, for example, one of the goals I had was to become a member of the North American Society for Sports Managers. And I had set out a timeline for that to occur by September of this year. So that's specific, it's measurable as when it's going to occur, it is attainable, it's relevant because my future plans actually, I will be graduating with a master's in sports management, and it's timely itself as well. I'm going to be graduating here soon, and that means looking for a job, so definitely timely on that part. When it comes to learning from other sports managers and athletic administrators, the one way I learn is actually through engagement and discussions. So if I'm learning from those type of people, I would like to actually take an active role with them. So this learning behavior is actually a hands-on approach for me, and it'd be considered a tactile learner. So basically, a tactile learner is an individual who tends to learn better when physical activity is involved. So this means projects. If I'm actually trying to study, I need to use note cards. Just those few things like that. The constant movement, getting up while studying multiple times, those help me to learn quicker. I believe that networking is essential for a successful career in athletics. This is definitely something I want to continue to nurture, especially the connections I made while working as an intern through Mile High officials. I've gotten to know a lot of the AEDs through the Denver Metro schools over there, and actually had quite a few conversations regarding futures there. One thing I'll also do is attend sports management clinics, conferences, and join associations for professional development, like the North American Society of Sports Management. Uh, that society there, NASM, as they call it, actually focuses on sports marketing, future directions in management, employment perspectives, and so on. It's just such a vast association there to help people like myself, sports management, um, educational learners, move forward in their careers. One of the main parts to my project was a document called the Organizational Overview for what I named my nonprofit organization, No Boundaries Youth Sports. So basically, the organizational overview gave a brief summary about the organization, provided the mission statement, actually described the products. So with No Boundaries Youth Sports, we are offering three different sports. So basketball, flag football, and soccer for the ages from 5 years old to 14. And these seasons occur throughout the year as well. Uh, that organizational overview actually does a market analysis. So we have a little bit about the demographics of the surrounding area that we'll be in. We also have a market need. So basically, in the area that we're in, there's over 10,000 children expected to participate in some type of youth sports this upcoming year. So with us coming in and all the other organizations, the nonprofit ones provided by the Parks and Recs departments or even the for-profit ones, there's plenty of children to go around on that end. So definitely we do have a market need for us to come in and actually be successful. The other part is the competition, like I mentioned. One thing about us, like I mentioned, is we are a nonprofit. We want to make sure that these children have opportunity to play sports. So we will not try to undercut the other leagues, but we want to make it as easy as possible for these kids to play. So no matter the financial situation of their parents, they have an option to play with us. It also includes a brief history about how we got started, the management team, which is myself at the moment. Everybody else is to be determined once we get this going a little bit further. The locations and facilities. So with us are No Boundaries Youth Sports. We don't own any facilities. We do not have any land. What we are actually doing is renting out facilities at the moment. So whether it be a field, basketball courts from the local middle schools, we're going to rent those out for the time being till we get big enough to where we can purchase our own tract of land and then build a sports complex where we can house everything there on our end. The next important document to my project here was the Rules, Policies, and Procedures Manual for No Boundaries Youth Sports here. Uh, and like it says, it consists of the rules, policies, and procedures for each sport there. So we have rules on participation, rules on registration, team formation process, safety rules, safety procedures as well. The procedure if there's game cancellations, locations procedure. So if something happens at a location, league rules for each set of sports as well. We do have a payment procedure. So when it comes to registering or registration, we have a procedure for that. So especially if a parent can't afford the registration fee, we do have a sliding fee scale based on their income. So we can get them to a point where it doesn't hurt them as much as paying the full amount there. And so we could get that child in and playing. We also do have the insurance policies up there. We do have the procedure for medical emergencies, for severe weather as well. And then we do have procedures for complaints. So if a complaint was to occur, whether it was against the coaches or refs, or even staff members and volunteers, and depending on how large that complaint was or how bad that violation, we also do have a misconduct policy within it. This document here is the summer 2018 registration form. So basically, like I mentioned, we have seasons throughout the year. So for the summer, we send out these registration forms via email, snail mail, and then if the parents want to put their child into a sport for that summer, they could go ahead and fill this out, list the sport or sports that they're there, and fill out all the information regarding the child, the emergency contact, the parents' contact information, or any medical conditions that that child may have. So we're well informed of what's going on. This next document is the parent and athlete assessment form. As I mentioned in the evaluation slide earlier, we do have a pretty consistent assessment form, multiple pages, a lot of information that's being sent out there. What we do is we get a little brief background about the child's age, what sports they played, basically how they heard about us and if they refer on our end. Then we dive into the deeper parts of the assessment to see how we're doing as an organization. So they have a survey based on 1 through 5, 1 being low, 5 being the highest on satisfaction. And they'll rate us on that end and see how we're doing as far as our meeting expectations, the organization of the league, our communication, professionalism. We do have an option for them to rate their coaches or coach, as well as leave comments about that coach as well. The next one is the facilities. Like I mentioned, we do not own the facilities, but we always want to make sure that our children are playing in the safest and most convenient spots on there as well. So we have surveys actually rating the cleanliness, the location, and overall condition, and even the faculty staff or the facility staff that runs those locations, and even the safety, because of course safety is the most important aspect to that. And then finally, the child impact. So as a nonprofit organization that is serving these children and wants to make a positive impact on these children, this is probably our most important part of the assessment. Basically, we asked the parents how their kids felt about the season, if it was a positive experience, if they actually enjoyed it, if our staff and the coaches were a positive influence on your child, and if they would be back with us next season. And if they want to post any more additional information, they have room there to do so. So this slide right here shows a marketing flyer for our Summer Youth Basketball League. As you know, for any organization, marketing is key. So we like to make sure our information is known. So we'll have our flyers out. We'll have it available on the internet. So at any time, parents can pull it up and know what's going on with us. And if they have questions, they can always reach out to us through the contact information on that flyer as well. So this slide shows the accident report form. So this report form is actually mandatory for all our coaches, staff, and volunteers. So if there was ever an incident, an injury, anything that caused bodily harm, they are required to fill out this form. It details of the incident itself. So you'll be putting down how it happened, where it happened, the type of injury, and if professional medical attention was needed on that. We just have this form to make sure we're on top of things so we know what's going on and to help any future incidents that might have occurred. So if a child gets hurt again, they know what happened last time. So this form here is the volunteer slash coaching application and agreement form. So basically, what it is an agreement for our coaches and our volunteers. There's a list of them items for them to agree upon. So basically, a few of the items are refraining from the use of inappropriate language or gestures, providing a positive and constructive experience, and understanding that they will agree to a criminal background check as well. They do have to sign this. They actually have to put a little bit of information there. And then once this is signed, we'll get them the release forms to get their criminal background check submitted. This project actually helped me learn a lot more about nonprofit organizations, especially through having the individuals help me like Micah and Jose. It actually increased my knowledge more than what I actually had prior to starting this project. And especially with Micah, him running his own nonprofit, it actually taught me some aspects to actually running a successful organization on his end. And as far as the future goes, this project is actually a stepping stone towards a personal goal, a future personal goal of mine. So, as I mentioned, one of my personal goals is to create a nonprofit just like this one. So, this project here is actually the foundation to something bigger in the future for myself. Again, I want to start a nonprofit to allow kids access to sports no matter what. And this project has definitely helped me open my eyes towards that and actually led me down a path to where I'll eventually get this going. So, how can others use or benefit from my project here? One thing that they could benefit from is it actually allows the people to see a basic guideline of creating a nonprofit organization. I know what I created here is nowhere near completion for an actual business plan to get a nonprofit going. And another benefit it shows is it gives actually a accurate representation of the amount of work that is required to start something like this. And finally, one of the biggest benefits though is once it's actually realized. So once I go from using this as a foundation for my future nonprofit to actually starting that, it'll actually benefit the families and children that I'll be working with for them to actually have another option in sports when it comes to their participation and access.
Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.